Jim Wiles here. Figured I'd do a quick video on my two cars. Had them out of the garage, had to get some shit off the shelf, so I figured I had them out when I cut a quick video. The 66 I picked up from a gentleman in Long Island. A neighbor of mine was purchasing a outboard motor from him and wanted me to check out the motor on the motorhead. So when I got there, in the garage was this car on blocks. In the mid-'80s, he pulled it in the garage and it popped a rear caliper cylinder seal, and it leaked all over the garage. And he chose to call it a day with the car because it was hard for him to get unleaded fuel. So he put it up on blocks, and there it stayed for years. I happened to see the car. It wasn't really my choice in terms of what I was looking for. I was looking for a project car. But I couldn't pass it up. It's all original, numbers matching, all the parts are original, the carburetor, all of it. I kept the master cylinder in a box, but I went out and purchased a new one. I didn't want to really rebuild the old. And with these cars, the master cylinder was one port, didn't have two like you have on the 67 and up. So it's a little bit of a safety concern there. And the calipers were kind of corroded. I could have rebuilt them, but chose not to. So I replaced the calipers, have the old ones in a box in case anybody wants them with the car. But it's a 327, 350, has a 4-speed close ratio box, 370 posi rear, teak wheel, no power of any kind. Steering is like driving a truck. Hand windows, just nothing. Back in the day when we would pull motors out of these cars when we were kids, you would have like 2 wires on the coil, 2 wires on the starter, a couple of wires from the alternator, and you were done. You disconnected the universal joint, pulled the drive shaft out, pulled the motor out. Or if you wanted to take the training out too, 4 bolts, boom, training came out.
I figured I'd add this to the video.
Easy to work on. It's just easy. Plugs are right there. Anything you need to do. I rebuilt the carburetor, got the kit, works fine. It's got a Holley on it. But took a while to bring the paint back. It's original paint. Little pigmentation here and there, but original paint. The back bumper's somewhat a little pitted from it being exposed to the garage doors out on Long Island. It's very damp. But, you know, it's all original. AM and FM radio was the most expensive. It's crazy. AM and FM radio. Go figure. He ordered it with, I forgot what the code was. I don't know if it was H11 or whatever. It said
That's an engine.
Off-road exhaust. He assumed it was side pipes. It wasn't. It was a different exhaust system with different mufflers. So when he got the car, he was pissed. And 2 years later, he had the dealer put the side pipes on the car finally. But the car runs fine. He chose not to use it because it was a bitch getting leaded fuel. He had to travel to get it. Today, I chose not to pull the heads off and redo them. So I add lead to the fuel, and I put in what they call octane boost. Car runs fine. It's very different to drive. This one here, I was called last minute if I wanted to get my order in, get it back to them in 30 minutes. The other dealership had an allocation, so they said, you're up next, you want the car, boom. Of course, there was constraints. I couldn't get the Z07 package, couldn't get the wing. But from what I was hearing on the 2024, they also had constraints. So I said, the hell with it, give me the car. Front splitter, little side skirts, had the spoiler winglets added to it. I got forged wheels, yellow calipers, yellow safety straps. Jesus, I'm losing it. I don't even remember. This is what happens when you get fucking old. And I had to decide whether it was going to be the coupe or the convertible. Every coupe I had, you had to take the panels off, stop the car, put them in their bags, put them in the back. Then you lost the space in the back, and boop, bada bop, bada beep. So he says, hey, let's get the HTC. What a feature. What an unbelievable feature. Beautiful. Push a button, goes right down, boom, away. A lot of people says, yeah, but you can't see the engine. There's not much you can do with it anyhow, so what's the point? I mean, these were an engine, with the air breather, tri-power, quads. These were engines. I gave up on working on them anyhow. But on this, you could do superficial things, oil changes, stupid shit, transmission fluid, brake pads if you want, brake calipers, all the easy shit, rotors. But this car is just magnificent. If you haven't driven one, you should drive one. I had the C7 Grand Sport prior to this, and when you drove that, it drove like that. This one drives like this, and it's just different. The whole feel of the car is different than the C7s, C5, C6s. Just different car. It almost. The Grand Sport C7 was an outstanding car. I love that car, but, money, I had to trade it in, to get this one. If you get a chance, if you've never driven an older Corvette, see if you can drive a C1, because it was a straight axle, just to get a feel for it all. The C1s were like driving a truck. This one here is not that much better. I mean, it's got independent suspension and shit, but the shocks were kind of gone on this. I pulled the shock out once and just like nothing. So I replaced the shocks with the same ones that were in it, but more modern in terms of the capability of it. And it rides soft, but that's what these cars were in the day, They didn't have a lot of aftermarket stuff for the suspension and shit. They had this particular one, when he ordered it, came with the shocks with the airbag in them. Those were compromised, so I pulled those out, stock. I have the old ones in a box as well. But this car is all original. This one's all numbers matching. And it's just different. Eventually, because of, I don't want to get political here, but because of Bidenomics, the inflation is hitting us hard as an older retired couple. So I think I'm going to have to let this go to add to our annual income somehow. What's funny about these cars is if you look at them, look at the height, look at the profile, look at the door sill levels, and you wonder if the cars are generally almost the same height. How do they make that up with it on the suspension of these? They're like straight across with the trailing arms and shit. With this one, they're mounted up higher, so that's why the car sits lower. But in terms of length, you know, this one is a lot longer, wider. If you're a Corvette nut, you know, you gotta appreciate it. You really do. A lot of people are comparing this one here to supercars. I don't think so, but it definitely is a joy to drive. That's pretty much it. And you guys out there with your Corvettes, enjoy them. They're a lot of fun. I wish they were easier to work on. Anybody have any questions about this particular car? I know a lot about them. I've done everything imaginable to them. Tack and dwell, all that stuff. They're easy to tune and maintain. You know, it's easy to do yourself. It's very basic. You can have the engine run crudely with a carburetor as opposed to, you know, throttle bodies and other fuel injection systems. These cars are fun if you like to work on cars. There's so many little things you can do with them. The motor in this car is, in my opinion, a fantastic motor. The 265, 283, 327, the 350, beautiful engines, easy to work on, very simplified, one cam, just a joy to work on. With that, I'll say enjoy your day, and I'm going to cut another video on this particular one. I finally got the mileage on it, and I'm going to do some shit with it. Still thinking about putting some the Jake on the rear fender, something on the hood maybe. Went to the dealership today for the inspection for this. Guy at the counter for parts didn't even know what I was talking about. He says, if I order the decal, would you put it on? He says, I don't even know what decal you're talking about. I said, okay. So much for that. You all have a good day. Enjoy your rides.